be like just this amazing change. I feel like people want him to be in the sideline, but they're going to be upset when he's on the sideline and like just like they just want it to be D'Amico Ryans and Robert Saleh. Like they don't want him to be standing on the sideline like, hello, make your catch. Like they want them to be like, ah, which I totally understand because like I remember when they were first hiring Steve Wilks, the number one thing I said when they were like going through coaches and looking at Vic Fangio, who everyone has like criticized for being kind of like more of a negative guy. And unfortunately, Steve Wilks seems to be like a little bit more neutral too. But at the time, people like former players talked about Steve Wilks as like a more players coach, more inspiring and like kinder than Big Fangio. And I remember saying that I thought that they should hire Wilks because like you need someone to balance out Kyle Shanahan. And I think that Kyle's been really smart with the hirings of Saleh and D'Amico to really like have that balance from like maybe a more stoic, angry or like reserved coach to like a more, fun loving, friendly, not fun loving, because obviously they're still very strict, but I don't know. I feel like Robert Saleh was fun loving to be fair. Like you can be like strict and have like a standard and still come off joyfully. And I feel like whatever's going on with Steve Wilks, he does not seem to be motivating very well. Did you see that like viral picture that was going around? Not ideal.
Yeah. If they're looking for motivation, I don't know what's gonna have to. I don't know what that changes in their like the play calling, their execution. Like, what does that have to do? If like the whole motivation, the rah thing, the cheerleader is probably the most overrated thing in professional sports. It's stupid. It works in college. It doesn't work now. It does not. Like maybe there's sometimes it does. Like look, like again, like this is probably the third week of mentioning this. The 49ers didn't need coaches to hype themselves up at the Cowboys game. It's the freaking Cowboys, Sunday Night Football and stuff like that. They don't need.
But it's if you can't get up for like if you're gonna win 3 or lose 3 in a row and you can't get up for that game, then like
you can do it yourself. You don't need someone to be like this prop up figure and stuff like that. So that's not going to change much. And plus, like that's a scapegoating mood. So it's like, what's that going to fix? And it's funny because I remember some of the people who wanted Vic Fangio. He was in the booth. He's in the booth. He's a booth guy. Everyone's a booth guy. The only reason why. I'm not sure why Saleh, right? They preferred that, but guess what? They're like 15 years younger than Wilks. What the hell is Wilks going to do down there at 54 years old? And at the time when Saleh started, he was like 36, 37. And when he left, he was 40, 39. And then Ryans too. They're about the same age roughly, or he's only a couple years younger. But Ryans was also a former player, a high-level player at that. So he knows what it is to be down there. Wilks is someone who never had a great resume at all. He hasn't led astounding defenses. I think only 1 year his passing defense was like solid. It was top 10 with the Browns, I think.
I feel like that's something really quick to be mentioned. I don't know why, and maybe I'm just dumb, but I was under the impression that Steve Wilks was calling the Panthers defense when he was there. He was not.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, which is weird.
He wasn't even the coordinator. He was the defensive assistant. They went with him because he was so much credit for head coaching experience.
Why did they give him so much credit for like the little mini turnaround that the Panthers had?
Because everyone was like, he's the head coach, and this is the difference from being the coordinator, that he was someone that was like someone to rally around and wasn't message praying. But it's not like, again, he wasn't probably doing it the rah-rah way. It's probably number one, thank God Matt Rule is out of here because that guy sucks.
like that's all the celebration.
Just that alone that loan pretty much probably props everyone's morale up. And then all of a sudden you got Wilks talking about, like, hey, look, we're gonna do this. I don't care about that mess before. Like, it's easier to look good when you came from a poor, a shitty situation. Yeah. It's hard to look good, and it's easy to look bad when you're over here replacing D'Amico Ryans when we know how it's done and looks good and be elite. And now all of a sudden you're not on the sideline. So it's a lot of new things. It's a new experience on the 49ers defensive side that, hey, we don't have this rah-rah coach and he's on the sideline. And meanwhile, we have Steve Wilks, who's a new thing. I'm not doing my own thing. I'm being forced to it. Remember, he's being forced to adjust to their scheme. So a lot of the things are still new. And he openly admitted it is still a challenge that he's kind of learning about.
Yeah, I was going to say, wasn't he asked about that like less than 2 weeks ago? And he was like, yeah, I'm still learning it.
Well, if anything, whose fault is it really? This goes back to personnel decisions, right? Kyle Shanahan?
Yeah.
Personnel decisions. You let Jimmy Ward go because now Isaiah Oliver is pretty, like, I mean, he looked like he was a good counterbalance.
In hindsight, like, and Javon Hargrave isn't like making that big of an impact. In hindsight, it would have been way smarter to keep like 4, like maybe not Ebukam, Jimmy Ward. What about Willis? Like, I feel like they could have kept some of those guys instead of making these bigger trades for bigger name guys who aren't making that much of an impact right now. Hargrave had like one good game, and now he's just been mediocre.
I mean, he has sacks in what, like 2 or 3 games, and then every time I look on ESPN's pass rush win rate, he's like top 3 in like double team for a defensive tackle.
Okay.
So I mean, and then you have Bosa, who's tied for the league, but it's like, Hargrave, I get it, because the center guy is supposed to like absorb those double teams. That's what DeForest Buckner did in 2019, and that's why Eric Armstead went off all those years. He was going off against one-on-ones like countless times. But Armstead's not really getting anything either. Well, he finally
got a sack. Did you see that? Finally?
Yeah, after he whiffed on the first drive one, it's like, which was pitiful. It's like, dude, Burrow's not this big, strong, fast guy. You should be able to half wrap him, and like, I don't know.
Like, why was he Lamar Jackson out there running all the time? Like,
it was pretty putrid and pitiful to see. That's the game. Look, if the Vikings game was Wilks' fault, this game was more on the player's fault, to be honest to me. So that's why I'm like, dude, everything just looks bad to me. And even the Vikings game was kind of just like, so like, no, don't fire Wilks. It makes no sense. That's too hot takey and reactionary, because who are you going to replace him with? And so for all the blame he's getting, look, Kyle Shanahan picked him, right? He picked him. They wanted to remain steadfast on running their system, which I get it. It's worked all the time. But if you want to do that, you should have hired from within, someone who knows the terminology. And then at the very least, it could have been like average. Because again, I no matter who you went after, I'm not sure there was always going to be a drop-off no matter what defensive coordinator you found. And Vic Fangio was the quote-unquote best, but there was probably going to be some wholesale changes in terms of scheme-wise. That's like, you know what, why fix something that isn't broken? But
yeah.
So
and the Dolphins have given up like more than 30 multiple games this year.
Yeah, and they actually have some solid talent too on their defense.
Yeah. Ramsey's back. He made a pick 6. Did you see that?
No, he didn't. He failed. He didn't get a pick 6.
Not?
You got a pick.
Okay, I just saw the interception.
And then Mike McDaniels, corny ass, was saying like, it's like, yeah, he said he was going to give me a pick 6, not a pick field goal, and it's like, this freaking guy.
I love that.
Quirky. I like it though.
Really quick, I didn't put a little slide on it, but Mike Silver had wrote an article talking about Chase Young, and he said that the reason there wasn't a lot of bidders for Chase Young was because he was known to have attitude problems in Washington. Now, Washington as a team is a mess, so I don't know how much we should even believe any reports coming out of there anyways. Like, maybe it says something good about you if you're like uncomfortable with their philosophy, because it doesn't seem like a good one. But people were kind of commenting on that article saying, okay, well, the Niners culture would be like a good culture for maybe a disgruntled player to come to anyways, because of the standard that they have. Do you think that if there is any like effort or attitude problems, that the 49ers would be a good place for someone like that to come?
Yeah, I think he's
normally they have like a standard, but we've been talking about recently, they're looking sluggish and slow.
No, he's if anything, he's gonna fall in line without the 49ers. He needs to really like, little brother him. Like he's gonna know, like, I mean, look, we saw Trent. They said the same thing about Trent Williams in Washington, right? Although albeit they kind of like almost literally ruined his life. So I mean, this is a different case, but there's always something about players leaving Washington or just in that building, no matter who the head coach is. So, I mean, this one, I'm not too worried about that. I think the thing,
because didn't Trent Williams have the same, like, people were saying that about him in
yeah, Washington, but then again, remember Washington, like, was denying him, like, medical aid, and that's how he
for his, like, cancer.
Brain cancer. I don't know. He had something with his head. He had
tumor or some shit.
A significant health issue that was detrimental to his life, and Washington literally was preying on his down. It was disgusting act to see. So that whole franchise, like, anything I hear from them, I don't really take too much. But, yeah, I'm glad they got him now. This should boost the ranks. It's just now it's like now you just need the players that you had now who are always viewed as elite and high level to really start doing their job. Charvarius Ward, stop being a waiting penalty happening. Talanoa Hufanga, stop whiffing tackles all over again. But that's kind of been his spiel. So it's just like it's more than just like, because how many times did you see whiff tackles like on these guys? Just one. It's like, man, that there was at least like 16.
Even Fred Warner. And Dre Greenlaw, you can I think they reported now he has a shoulder sprain, but last game you could tell that he was like hurting. He was not tackling the same. Kyle Shanahan said when they looked over the film that the players looked like tired and fatigued and they really needed the bye week. But to me, I mean, and maybe this is like, I'm not a player, so I'm sure if I was like injured, I'd be like, well, it's easy for you to say like sitting on your couch. But to me, I said
that last week after Minnesota, though.
Because I feel like it's like not an excuse to be like, oh, we're beat up and tired, because like every team is beat up and tired.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like the Eagles are beat up and tired and they're crushing it. So
it's not an excuse, true, and that's why they lost. So I mean, that's the bye comes at a perfect time, right? That's why, like, if you get a bye week, if anywhere between 7 to 11 weeks, you're always sitting golding, especially when you're a playoff team, right? You get to have that bye, you get the rest, and so if they are sluggish and slow, which I thought so even after the Vikings game, I'm like, they don't look like, the top team that's like speed's gonna kill and all this aggressiveness, and then like going into this game, like that's pretty much part of the reason why I thought they were gonna lose. Is like short week, you got a team on bye. I think Bengals are ascending. Joe Burrow's probably gonna be healthier, and you guys are like probably gonna be sluggish in that game. That's why like I wasn't shocked that they lost in the way that they did. So
okay, I wasn't shocked that they lost, but I was shocked with that. I was shocked with that outcome because the score doesn't even represent how bad it is. The Bengals they missed a field goal. They like threw an interception in the red zone in the like that first half. The defense was horrible. Yeah. Brock Purdy wasn't even that bad in the first half. The first half, that defense, the Niners were lucky to only be down as much as they were going into halftime, and then it still got away from them. But speaking of